This up here.
Hey,
How's it going?
hi. Back for
Oh,
another mentor meeting. Jake Porter, Zach Luther.
hi.
We're here for 2.8. So 2.8, we were working on a behavior intervention plan. So I had a case study. I had to kind of read, evaluate, try to identify some things,
Love
create
it.
some support, stuff like that. So
Love it.
the case study was about a 15-year-old autistic student named Max. He's a 10th grader. Who his biggest thing is he gets distracted during individual time.
Okay.
So he shuts down when he gets an individual assignment. So the
Yeah.
way that they identified to assist him with that was they had like a token economy,
Sure.
right? Where they take his expectation, put it on his desk, right?
Yep.
And any time that he met expectations for like 5 minutes, give him a coin. And at
Yep.
the end of the week, he could take his coins and buy things. And over time they like increase the price of things to kind of keep it, keep his expectations going up.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, Outside of that, that's really what it was. Uh, Ethical professional considerations. They're asking some questions about like when I would implement a behavior plan, and some things to consider would be like avoiding public humiliation, things like that,
Yeah.
avoiding
Yeah.
um,
So, I mean, Mr. Porter's very familiar. We have two on. Sorry, let me turn this up. There are two on behavior plans that we work with, and I think the biggest one is yes, it provides a plan for what should happen in class. But of course, when the plan goes wrong, right? And so, what do you go back again? Like, what is like triggering event is when he gets in front of the class, like
mhm,
he gets called out in front of the class.
yeah.
We have someone similar to that.
Mhm.
Andy, that's on his behavior.
Yeah.
So we have a student just like that,
Mhm.
who, right? He doesn't want to do much work, right? You have to have like kind of something right in front of him that is achievable. He still kind of needs like the one-on-one.
Yeah.
But if you try to talk to him about in front of anybody, it's pretty much a done deal. It's over,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Uh, I know what I'm probably getting ahead of ourselves. What is his like escalation crisis moment?
I mean, there was a whole, I think, IEP on him, but I think it was and more like we have some kids here who like you leave them one on one, and rather than escalate, they just put their head down and
Head.
don't do anything.
Right, right,
And so
right.
what their behavior plan was to try to get him to buy into doing things and being motivated to do things. I don't know that he was like ever, uh, like eloping or anything or
Uh-huh.
having episode.
Gotcha.
Um, this last part, I had to give an example of, said, reflect on my experience, considering the practical challenges and all that, um, and identify some strategies. And one of the strategies that I talked about was with another one of the kids we had, where I would give him an incentive, uh, like hot fries, to kind of deal with him to get him to do some work. And that motivated him to want to get ahead. And
Definitely.
that was kind of a baseline of building that positive relationship that everybody always talks about. Because he sees that and he's like, oh, hot fries are cool. I like this guy. I'll listen to him.
No doubt.
Yeah,
No doubt. Very cool.
that's the gist of that. Some questions for the mentor part.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, questions for the mentor part. That's something I've been dealing with lately. Oh Lord, lately with the end of the year, it's been so difficult to get kids to really buy in and engage. Like what do you say to a kid when they're like, well, like we have a kid right now. Well, this is stupid. I'm going to summer school anyway. Why do I have to
I
do this?
know. That one's really, really tough. And I know what student you're talking about. It's very like it happens like clockwork. There's always a certain amount of kids that take the don't do anything, fall asleep all year, don't want to do any work. And then it gets to crunch time and it's like, well, I'm way behind anyways. I'm going to
Yeah.
call it
Might
quits,
as well, yeah.
right? But, it depends on the student. It kind of depends on the grade and the age as well.
Mhm.
What I would like to see out of the high school student that we have who just says, well, I'm going to summer school anyways. Well, you know, there's a zillion things that we can think of that would be good ideas. Like we can get him started on next year's course so he feels like he's ahead,
Yeah.
right? We can get him started on the summer school course early, which some people have accepted. But of course, with that particular student, you can give him 10 ideas and he'll find 10 ways to shut it down,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Basically,
Learned
he
helplessness.
just doesn't want to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
learned helplessness type thing.
Yeah.
But on the younger side, like with that behavior plan that what you just talked about, it's like, yes, it's good to scaffold the shop and scaffold the coins,
Mhm.
but it's also good to scaffold the time on like, hey, I'm going to give you a token in 5 minutes if I see you working independently for 5 minutes. And then from that behavior plan, maybe if you see the consistency there, the frequency is good. Okay, I need to work for 10 minutes now. And if it's 10 minutes, then it's 2 tokens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you start, it's not like just scaffolding the shop for him to get more things because, oh, now the candy's not good enough, which could
Yeah.
happen. It's not, now I
I
want
don't
to
even
play,
want that candy.
now I want to play a video game for an
Yeah.
hour,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, then I don't want to do anything. And then they don't work for the candy anymore. But it's more like if you stay with the tokens, which is good, then it's like, okay, that 5 minutes isn't enough.
Mhm.
Now I can give you 3 tokens for 15 minutes,
Right.
right? And you're just kind of playing that game. And it doesn't work out all the time because they do want the next best thing.
Mhm.
I've been working for chips all this time.
No, I want something else.
Now I want something else, and it's always like kind of the give or take. And with the behavior plans, of course, the number one thing on most behavior plans that I have done is that if you give a new teacher that behavior plan and hey, follow this, the number one thing is to try to talk and build that relationship.
Mhm.
The behavior plan goes out the window, right?
Yeah.
If you're not following like that protocol for you can't trigger them,
Yeah.
right? You got to kind of know their ins and outs and you got to have a good sense of the kid of, wait a second, I can sense the frustration. Like,
Mhm.
that's not right. I gotta, I gotta go to the behavior plan and figure out what to do next. Or like, how do I make sure that this doesn't escalate any farther? And I think that's what's so great about this place. It is kind of one-on-one relationship based where you don't really see those behaviors, but the kids that we see here that do a good job, like they could be a totally different person when they go back to a 30 kid classroom.
Oh yeah.
It's just, and that behavior plan is super important.
How do
So,
you balance the relationship building aspect of it as well with the staying on target? Because like fourth period today, me and a kid spent half the period talking about Florida because I'm from Florida. I know a lot about it. We were talking about biodiversity. So it was topical and he
yeah,
was learning, but I was like, I kept on, we need to go back and do the quiz,
I know.
like
I know. He's so, I know he's talking about, he's so good at asking questions that are educational, but nothing to do with what's in front of him.
it's learning.
It's
He's
learning.
learning about Florida, but it's not
He's
the
like,
quiz he's doing.
he was doing math with me, then he was talking about Pearl Harbor stuff. I was like, okay, but well, this is one. But it's like, focus on the stuff.
Go back. Yeah.
I know. And it's like, you can't get mad at the kid for that. You want him to get stuff done. It's hard because the people around him really shut out, right? But again, I think you always got to think about it, especially at a place like this. He doesn't have a lot of people to talk to like that when he gets at home.
Yeah.
And it goes back to I'd rather answer questions like that. And then when it comes crunch time, like what I did with that student, I know who he's talking about. Like he's been doing well. So I showed him his course map on how close he is to passing. And I just like try to hype him up, like, man, it's about 20 more minutes of work. Look how much you've done. I've like showed them.
Yeah.
And sometimes those little kids kind of forget like how much progress that they made and you can't blow it now. Like you're right there, you're
Yeah.
so close. And I think that really worked well with him. Once he saw how much he's accomplished, right? Then he kind of got the seriousness of it. Like, gosh, I'm right there,
Mhm.
right? Doesn't work for all kids, but I'm fine. I'm kind of fine with going off tangent when he's appropriate.
Yeah. It's topical, you know, it's not like
Yeah.
off the wall. Like that was he's learning about biodiversity. I was explaining to him the food chain and how,
Uh-huh.
you know, all those little bugs we have down there feed the bigger animals to the bigger animal, and then it goes all the way to the top, you know.
I know. Okay. Okay. Same kid. This happened yesterday. I'm glad you brought this up. It was like he worked for 5 minutes and then wanted to get distracted, ask me questions about video games or whatever. And I said, I'm going to put a timer. If you work for 5 more minutes, we will talk video games for 5 minutes and we'll go 5 on, 5 off. And that's not a great strategy, but into the year and everyone else was sleeping around him.
It works.
That was the best strategy I could come up with right then and there,
Hey.
but it works,
Yeah, it does
you know?
work.
And I think with little kids, timers are really big. They see the timer.
Hmm.
They don't really can tell time.
I'll have to use that.
Can't tell time that much. But if I see him, he's getting off tangent, I know he wants to talk about something. It's like, all right, close the laptop. You have 5 minutes of my attention. We can talk.
Hmm.
When that 5 minutes is up, laptop's back up. We're working. So but that's the tough, like, that's what's so great about this place, alternative school. That doesn't work with back at the base school.
Yeah.
You don't have time. There's so many kids around. You can't have the conversation. Like, that's why I kind of love this place because you can get even the toughest kids to work because you build a relationship. But that strategy, what I'm talking about, only works here. It doesn't work. I don't have that solution with that kid with the 30 kid, with the 25, 30 kid
Kids, yeah.
classroom. It's hard to build a relationship, but you can just try to make sure your lessons tie in already to kind of eye-opening, eye-popping, you know, interesting things.
Right.
And you just got to hope that kind of gains the attention. It's not easy. Not easy. You got to know your kids.
Somebody's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. Yeah. Any other mentor questions? Anything?
I think that might be it.
All right.